Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a reaction video to the Angry Video Game Nerd episode 177. He's talking about Mortal Kombat ports. Let's check this out. Should I got my headphones on right. This should be good. And here we go.
Thanks for watching this episode of Angry Video Game Nerd on Mortal Kombat games, which is about fighters from different realms performing gory fatalities. But the real fatality is your unencrypted data being harvested by hackers, governments, and corporations. I recommend using the same VPN I use anytime I go on the internet, ExpressVPN. It creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your devices and the internet. It also masks your IP address so you can hide your location and browse anonymously. You can change your location to anywhere you want in the world, which is great for unblocking geo-restricted content. For example, I've used it to watch the hit horror movie from 2018, A Quiet Place. Yeah, the sequel's coming out this month, so might as well catch up with the original. Unfortunately, it's not on Netflix USA, so you can set your location to the UK to watch it. ExpressVPN has blazing fast speed, so you can stream anything you want in HD with zero lag. It's so easy to use, just click one button to connect and you can watch all the movies and shows you want. At less than $7 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee, it's no wonder why ExpressVPN is the #1 rated VPN in the world by TechRadar, The Verge, Wired, and many more. Take back your internet privacy today and find out how you can get 3 months free by clicking the link in the description. Head to expressvpn.com/cinemassacre.
He's the angry video game nerd.
That took some time to do that. Mortal Kombat. I think that ports too. I don't know. Maybe supposed to be Mortal Kombat.
Motherfucking Mortal Kombat. You don't get much more badass than that. When this sumbitch came out, it changed the landscape of gaming entirely. It garnered praise and a ton of controversy. Even the government was trying to ban it until they came up with the bright idea of ratings. It's crazy to think with how violent the series is today, this caused an uproar. Nowadays, the gore isn't too crazy, but back in '92, holy shit. It was unlike anything we'd ever seen before. While Street Fighter II was revolutionary for fighting games, Mortal Kombat was revolutionary for video games as a whole. The game was turned into a comic book, cartoon, movie, live-action series, trading cards, and of course the album by the Immortals with that legendary single, Techno Syndrome, which became the Mortal Kombat theme. But the whole album just pummels you with a meteor shower of sizzling hot beats. One of the biggest things about this game was the special moves and the fatalities, which all required complex button combinations, which we had to commit to memory. You know how much of our brain power that used up? We were sitting in school and supposed to be listening to our history lesson, but instead we're tuning out the teacher and just thinking forward high kick, down up low punch. You know, we're all hopped up on GamePro magazines. We can't wait to get to the arcade. So once the bell rings and school lets out, that's the time to let it rip, to let it fucking loose, run in the bus screaming, Mortal Kombat! Yeah, just like the kid in the commercial. I mean, he goes out in the streets and screams Mortal Kombat as if his life depends on it, with raw emotions tearing through like a shockwave, paving a radius of mighty force emanating from the ground where he stands. And then a crowd marches out, as if they heard the call to action, as if to say, damn straight, Mortal Kombat. Because this isn't just a game, this is a way of fucking life. The commercial, of course, was announcing that Mortal Kombat was coming to home consoles. The year of our Lord, September 13th, 1993. Mortal fucking Monday. This would be the day a crowd of edgy 90s teens gathered in the streets to celebrate. Because when it was in the arcades, it was always surrounded and guarded by bigger kids, the quarter hogs. But now, we'd be taking it back to our own homes. That commercial announcing Mortal Monday was like a call of freedom, a call that begged to be reckoned with, a call that defined a generation. While the definitive way to play Mortal Kombat will always be the arcade, people couldn't wait to bring the game home and start ripping out hearts and spines from their couches. Each port is more or less a fair recreation of the arcade version, however they all have minor and sometimes major differences that keep the game from being 100% there. We still ate it up though. Mortal Kombat's launch went down as one of the biggest game releases in history, and we all crowded around our living rooms to witness it in all its violent glory. So, how do all these ports stack up against each other? Like this. First, let's look at the Super Nintendo version. This port was published by Acclaim and developed by Sculptured Software. After turning it on, you get this little animation of Goro walking up and punching the Acclaim logo. Yeah, and of course, Acclaim is the company that bought LJN. Yeah, punch that logo, Goro. Yeah. Punch the fuck out of it. Yeah, I can watch you punch that fucking logo all day. So, right off the bat, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. The thing that everybody talks about is that the Super Nintendo version was censored and is infamous for removing the blood or replacing it with sweat. The sweat thing? If that's really supposed to be sweat, you know what? That's kind of disgusting. I think it's even more disgusting than blood. I mean,
really?
How sweaty are these fighters to begin with? They only just started fighting and like a gallon of sweat came out of Scorpion. I hope they're slamming down Gatorade in between matches. Otherwise, they're going to have some serious dehydration issues. In my opinion, the first Mortal Kombat was never known to be a tight and precise fighting game. It was more of a mindless blood sport that you and your friends played for fun. And it was just the style of it, how it was basically like Enter the Dragon, the game. But removing the blood just makes this a mediocre fighter on the Super Nintendo, with Street Fighter II Turbo out the same year. But sadly, compared to all the other issues this game has, the lack of blood is only minor. But before we get into this shit, let's talk about what this game does well. For one, the game looks pretty damn close to the arcade. The graphics are clean, the sound is decent, and the voice samples sound pretty clear. But all that is shit on by some of the most frustrating controls I've ever felt. The game just feels unresponsive. There's been so many times where I'm hitting buttons and nothing happens. Sometimes I'll be nowhere near the enemy, but able to sweep them infinitely from a mile away. So another thing that blows is getting hit while shooting a projectile cancels your projectile.
Ooh.
In the arcade version, if I shoot ice but get hit by the opponent's projectile, my ice still hits them, but in the Super Nintendo version, it disappears. I don't know why they would program it like this. All this really comes to a head when you hit the endurance levels. Oh my lord, the endurance levels. I spent more time on these 3 levels than I did on the rest of the game. Having to beat 2 opponents while struggling to control the game makes these 3 levels a shit show. I can't stand it when I beat the first opponent and the second opponent comes in and cheap shots me. In the arcade, these parts are tough, but they still seem fair. It really does come down to a test of endurance, but the Super Nintendo version is a test of patience. The computer gets really cheap here too. It's demoralizing. Having to continue over and over just to lose when you're so close to the end is really painful. What's worse is Goro and Shang Tsung are fucking pushovers. I destroyed them on my first try. I was kind of disappointed. Can you have some fucking balance here? And speaking of disappointing, let's take a look at the fatalities. In every version of the game, the only people whose fatalities stay the same are Scorpion, Sonya, and Liu Kang. I never really understood Liu Kang's fatality. He flops all around and uppercuts you. It's awful. Kano's is also kind of the same, but I don't understand what he's ripping out of Liu Kang. I guess it's his sweat gland or something? Sub-Zero loses his famous head rip and instead freezes and shatters you. That makes sense, actually. I think it's a more appropriate fatality for Sub-Zero. But what I don't understand is how do they scream after being frozen and shattered? Raiden's fatality is pretty cool too. He electrocutes you into dust. To be honest, I actually like this over his original fatality. The pit fatality is pretty lame. Without blood, it just looks wrong. When Johnny Cage gets knocked down, he just chills out down there. He looks completely fine. Like by some miracle, he fell all the way down and missed the spikes. Speaking of Johnny Cage, his fatality is by far the worst in the game, and maybe even the whole series. He kicks you in the chest and his foot disappears while they just flail around. I mean, this right here is the epitome of not even trying. I mean, you couldn't even try to make that happen. His foot disappears before it even touches. What is going on? Well, this gets my award for the shittiest fatality. All right, well, let's move on to the next one, the Genesis version. Now, let me tell you straight out, this is a deal breaker to me because 3 buttons? 3 buttons for Mortal Kombat? How does that work? Both high punch and low punch share the A button. A regular tap is a low punch. If you're holding a direction, it turns it to high punch. B and C are both the kick buttons, and start is block. So it can be done, but the thing is, you just gotta get a 6-button controller. If you have the 6-button controller, you're fine. The main advantage this one has over the Super Nintendo is the blood. Yep, it has the blood. After you put in a code, that is. Without the code, you get censored fatalities and no blood. The censored fatalities in this one are actually worse than the Super Nintendo version. Sub-Zero just uppercuts you into the air, Johnny Cage shadow kicks you off the screen, Raiden shoots lightning and you fall, and Kano steals your wallet?
Okay.
He steals your wallet. Yeah, I mean, I guess he takes your wallet, and the shock of it kills you. There's absolutely no reason to play this without the code. The pit is actually turned off without the code, so fuck this shit. Put in that blood code. God damn it. Reset and hit ABACABB or ABACAB at the text in the beginning. There's also a second code called the Dullard code. You get this one by hitting down, up, left, left, A, right, down at the start screen. Get it? It spells Dullard. Besides unlocking blood and the real fatalities, you also get a cheat menu that lets you do some cool stuff. You can make it so the computer always uses a fatality, make Reptile appear before every fight, give yourself infinite continues, and make the head of Fergus McGovern bob around the moon. Fergus McGovern was the founder of Probe Software, and his face pops up as an Easter egg in their Mortal Kombat ports. He shows up in Mortal Kombat 2 as a secret fatality, the Fergality. Yeah, no joke, the Fergality. But anyway, back to the Genesis port. At first glance, it doesn't look as good as the Super Nintendo version. The colors are all muted and everyone has these red pixels around them. But hey, fuck it, there's blood, right? That's all you need. And the controls are actually responsive and don't feel like there's 8 seconds of lag. The music has that signature Genesis feel and actually sounds groovier than the Super Nintendo. I mean, listen to the courtyard music on the Super Nintendo. And compare it to the Genesis. So overall, it's a decent port with flaws that don't harm the overall experience. Of course, you have to have the 6-button controller though. Now, let's fuck it all up and play Mortal Kombat on Game Boy. Yeah, can you believe I'm doing this? You want to bring Mortal Kombat with you wherever you go, huh? Well, to that I say don't. Just don't. Wait till you get home, because this is easily the worst version of Mortal Kombat I've played so far. This one was also made by Probe, but they must have rushed through this and spent all their game development talent on the Genesis version. The music is a mess of screeches and farts. It just sounds like ass and a half.
Wow.
The game only has 6 characters instead of 7. You can't fit one more guy? They could do 6, but they just couldn't do 7. Johnny Cage is left out on this one, but I'm pretty sure he's cool with it. Liu Kang has one big tooth. Raiden looks like someone walked in on him in the bathroom. Scorpion and Sub-Zero are barely distinguishable. And Sonya has these dark, soulless eyes. She freaks me the fuck out. The game just gets worse and worse as you play it. If you thought the Super Nintendo was unresponsive, this game changes the entire definition of unresponsive. There's a good second of input lag on all the moves. Lots of the time, you kick through the enemy. How did I not hit them? Am I a ghost and didn't know it? Is that the twist? Trying to pull off a special move is a fucking feat. Sometimes I get them and other times I'll do all the same shit only to get my ass handed to me while I flail around. And don't even think of trying out a fatality. They might as well not even be in the game because I tried and I couldn't even do one of them. And it doesn't help, the Game Boy has only 2 buttons. Yeah, if I had a problem with the Genesis having 3, Game Boy only has 2. How do you play Mortal Kombat with 2? And yeah, okay, the Game Boy has limitations. There's certain things they just couldn't help. But you know what? Mortal Kombat 2 on Game Boy was pretty decent. So I think they just fucked up here. Even if I could pull the fatalities off, guess what? They're awful. For example, Kano just kicks you in the air. Yeah, not worth the frustration. It's like right after they made the Genesis version, they said, oh yeah, you gotta make a Game Boy version too. And they were like, oh shit, we only have 7 minutes. And this is what they gave us. After playing through it for almost an hour, I managed to get to Goro, but boy, he fucked my shit up. In the first round, he was super easy, but then he went into like a panic mode and decimated me. I lost all my continues and just couldn't force myself to give a shit. Game over. Boy, Nintendo's really getting the shitty end of the Mortal Kombat port stick. Well, hopefully Sega can salvage it with the Game Gear version and round it out nicely. This one has a blood code, and it's in color! Oh, and unlike the Game Boy, has Johnny Cage, but no Kano. Overall, it's okay, but compared to the Game Boy, it's legendary. I mean, if you're looking for Mortal Kombat on the go, this is the one you want. All the fatalities are here too, just Game Gearified. Sadly, there's no pit fatality, even though the only 2 levels you get are Goro's Lair and the Pit. The game does have some issues. It looks real choppy and slow. The background always jitters when you move, and the game feels like the characters are underwater. And for some reason, Goro is shorter in this version. Looks so weird. Goro's supposed to be the most intimidating boss in the game. He's a huge 4-armed monster man and the prince of the Shokan race. He commands the armies of Outworld, but here he just looks goofy. It's like when they made tiny Goros as pets in the Judge Dredd arcade game. Maybe we'll do that sometime. Well, it's passable, but still kind of shitty, and I can't end on something that's kind of shitty, you know? So instead, let's end on some real ass vomit. Mortal Kombat on Tiger Electronics.
Oh no, not Tiger.
2! Yeah, because why the fuck not? And would you know, Hasbro is bringing these things back?
Oh,
so
God.
The timing's perfect. So the first of the 2 was a standard Tiger Electronic in '93, and the commercial was hilarious. It was a bunch of kids on a playground trying to get rid of the damn game. Even the kids in the commercial didn't want this thing. But then in '94, they made a Tiger Barcodes version, or Barcods. Yeah, let's see what Tiger did to Mortal Kombat. Yeah, look at this. That Tiger fucking mauled it! Unfortunately, my Tiger handheld of Mortal Kombat doesn't work, you know, so I can't play it. All I see is a jumbled mess of a person on the screen, so we can just forget about this one. Except for the fact that they made Tiger handheld emulators.
What
the fuck? Yeah, Tiger handheld emulators. I'm not even kidding. I think it's safe to say we've officially hit the bottom of the porto potty when it comes to video game emulation. A human being had to actually scan all the artwork in the games and program them to work on a MAME emulator. So what you're seeing here is an emulated version of the Tiger Electronic Mortal Kombat. And now it sucks balls in HD. Surprisingly, the game features all 7 original characters, as well as Goro and Shang Tsung. Wow. The Game Boy and Game Gear version couldn't even get all 7. Well, that's 1 point for Tiger Electronics. Go get him, Tiger! But each character is just the same with graphics added. Sonya is the worst of all because she shares the same body as Johnny Cage and Liu Kang. There actually do exist button combinations where you can pull off special moves. This is also how you do the finishing moves, which just knocks them out. It's shitty, but honestly, I think I'd rather play this than the Game Boy version. Moving on, we have the Tiger Barcods version. This one's a bit bigger and actually has real sound instead of just beeps and boops. There's only 4 selectable characters in this one: Liu Kang, Raiden, Sub-Zero, and Scorpion. And Goro's the only boss, no Shang Tsung. The special moves and fatalities are the same as in the other Tiger game, but this time when you pull off a fatality, the opponent turns into a skeleton. which is
Okay.
kind of cool for a Tiger game. I mean, who would have thought? Fatalities in a Tiger game? And one really weird thing about this is that it comes with trading cards. No, not these trading cards. These kind of trading cards, which are the kind that you scan to get all kinds of power-ups and shit. I guess that's kind of cool, but you never know what the cards are going to do. Some cards give your character or the opponent more strength, defense, life, etc. But some cards outright kill you. Why would you want a card that kills you before the fight even starts?
Yeah.
What is the point? And it's not like there's any descriptions on these cards that really tell you exactly what they do. It's just a guessing game. So they threw the death ones on here just to be assholes. There's also a card that kills the opponent without even having to fight them. Just scan it and they die. You can actually beat the entire game by just scanning this card. Yeah, so in case you're planning to speed run a Tiger game, you could just scan this 10 times. I don't see the point. Why even turn the damn thing on to begin with?
Yeah.
Well, those are all the ports shot out on Mortal Monday, as well as some extra dingleberries. I know I missed some other ports like the Sega CD version, but that one is mostly the same as the Genesis with some enhancements. Also, I mainly wanted to stick to the original console releases. And the Tiger ones needed to be shit on because they exist. Well, to this day, Mortal Kombat is still one of gaming's biggest franchises. After 28 years, it's still going strong. And even though it was inspired by Street Fighter, it set itself apart and inspired all kinds of other fighting games, many of which are clones or rip-offs of Mortal Kombat.
Oh boy.
The fuck? Huh?
Time killer? There's another one coming to be coming. Rip-offs. Oh, he's gonna do rip-offs next. Oh, that's gonna be cool. I can't wait to see that one. That's gonna be cool. The rip-off versions of Mortal Kombat. That is very good. I like that. Not bad. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good episode of Angry Video Game Nerd. I like it. That's very good. I like it. It's not bad. Too bad. It's all right. I liked it. Seeing some classic. He breaks down each. He basically breaks down all the previous first Mortal Kombat: Super Nintendo, Sega, Game Boy, Sega Game Gear, and of course the Tiger ones. So that's pretty good stuff. I like it. That's pretty good. Tell me what you think, everybody. Please leave a like, comment, and also please subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. And as always, I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful Thursday, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Take care, stay safe, stay humble, and be a blessing.